Welcome to the Gold Standard here on the 440 Sports Network, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. We are champions of the world, the best men and the best women at hockey in the world. In the world, Emma. In the world. I hope everyone celebrated with some Sinkers Beverages. How are you, Emma?
I am ready for hockey to be back. NHL hockey to be back.
Okay.
I'm just ready for it. It's been too long.
We got a trade deadline coming up in like a week and a half. Like it's coming. So we got a lot of stuff to get to today on the show. We will obviously spend most of the day discussing just the sheer, like the truth of the matter is, Emma, it is one of the greatest American sports stories ever told. That 3 days, I guess it's 4 days, Thursday through Sunday, of American hockey success, both over Canada, just so sweet. And the way the games played out, we will spend a lot of time on sort of the TV viewership. What does it mean for young hockey players? Yes, there's controversy clearly with what happened in the locker room after the USA men. And it's honestly, I'm just so frustrated that it's a thing that's happened. It's not surprising that it's happened with this president and with this issue, but it's just very frustrating because, like, I want to celebrate both of these teams for what they accomplished. But you know, this is the world we live in, Emma. so there are people being giant a-holes about this stuff, and we've got to discuss it. Obviously, Juuse Saros and Erik Haula, congratulations on a medal. And people still want to drag Juuse Saros on the socials as well. And as I mentioned, we've got a week, less than 2 weeks for the deadline. What do the Preds need to get accomplished over the course of the next 10 days before the deadline next Friday? So lots of stuff to get to. If you look, here we go. NV says USA, USA, USA. Showtime. Hello there, says Brad. Good to see you guys. I am working on sharing the product right now on the Twitter machine. So if you want to get involved, thumbs up on the YouTube page. Please, notifications turned on. You can comment there. Please get involved in the show. We do have a lot of stuff to get to. Connor Hellebuyck, an American hero. Megan Keller, an American hero. Just people being heroes all the time. I'll start with this, Emma. My wife, my kids were into this. My wife was sort of like, I don't really watch a ton of hockey, right? So like both games, she was kind of just like in the room or like around both the men's championship and the women's gold medal match as well. And I had to look at them, and I was like, on Sunday morning, and I was like, they're going to make a movie of this. It's 1-1 going into the third period. Canada had just scored. And I was like, they're going to make a movie out of this weekend if the United States figures out a way to win this game. Because of how the women came back and scored in the final 2 minutes and then won it in overtime. If the men hold on to this medal and win for the first time in my existence on this earth, 46 years to the day, it is going to be a movie. And in your lifetime in American sports, where do those 4 days stack up historically in your life? Like your favorite teams, your favorite moments, the things you've covered as a fan, as an American, like how do you put it into context, those 4 days of gold medals over multiple medals over Canada?
I think it's hard to have that conversation in the moment, in terms of, everything comes with recency bias. But I do think that this is, it's big, right? Especially the fact that it was the first time that both USA men's and women, they both won gold in the same Olympics. So that's really important. It's really significant. I hope that this becomes something, I hope that it becomes something that we can look back on as like a watershed moment for sports, in terms of equality in men's and women's sports, and not just equal pay and equal media rights and things like that, but just in terms of respect, the bare basic minimum of respect that these women have earned too. And I think that a lot of that is just given freely to the men, not that they don't deserve it, but it just feels like women have to kind of in general beg and claw and fight for that same level of respect. So I hope that this is something that in many years we can look back on and say that this really did a number for that. So I'm hoping that it'll have that effect.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people kind of tracking the men's Canadian and USA rosters and like how many players were on a team or have competed in this type of event and their ages and sort of like how inexperienced. Like none of them were alive 46 years ago on the day when the United States beats the Soviets in 1980 in Lake Placid to do the unthinkable. Like I wasn't alive and I'm old.
But also, I will just say, like, with the whole, very cool, great story that, and it's a nice full circle moment. But also, I would be careful, not saying you're doing this, but a lot of people have done this with like posting the picture of Jack Hughes and like, do you believe in miracles? It's like, okay, this team was supposed to, I mean, maybe not beat Canada, but it's not like a massive upset like for the US to beat Canada now, like it was for the US to beat the Russians back in 1980. So I know you're not saying that, but a lot of people have been saying like, wow, it's a miracle. It's like, well, not
far less of a miracle. There's no question. And in particular, after the game unfolded, like watching how Canada was clearly the better team for the vast majority of that hockey game. Like they deserve to win. They're the better team. That's their national sport. Like they're always like their offense is just insane. Like the speed with which they play the game is just incredible. The Canadian team, you just got to hat tip the whole entire thing. I agree. It is not the same as a bunch of college players coming together to beat like a active Cold War rival that dominates the world. Like it is definitely different. But I am 43 years old and I grew up on that miracle team. Like that miracle team is in my culture. It's in my literature. It's in our movies. It's in our Netflix documentaries now. It is a thing that we have all as American hockey fans. It is something that is like inside of who we are, I think. And so there were tears. Like it was dusty on Sunday morning when Jack Hughes scores the goal. Did I scream at the top of my lungs and jump out of like I could? First of all, I can't sit at certain events. Like if the Mets are in the World Series or if the Packers are in a playoff game, there's certain things where I the first 75% of the game I can sit and watch, and I have to like pace around. Like I'm a pacer. Like I walk around I'm behind the couch and I'm walking into the other room. I just walk into other hallways for no reason, because I'm nervous. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at both old overtime goals. But it was like the culmination of 4 days of pride and of like my childhood, like coming to life. And so I agree with you. It's not the same, but at the same time, like I think it is as good of an American sports story as you can come up with. And what's interesting about it is that I think with the men, it's different because we are not supposed to win things. Like we are the best female athletes mostly in the world. Like in general, there's certainly countries that do amazing things better than we do. But by and large, like we have the best women's soccer team in the world, period. It's like, period. We have the best women's hockey team in the world, period. They are dominant. And
but
the men aren't.
Olympics, though, that hasn't been the case. I mean, the U.S. women had only won 2 gold medals. Yes, they've medaled in every Olympics since 1998 when women's hockey came in, but they haven't won gold. It's only like when they
twice,
won
right?
Twice and now 3 times. But if you think about it, the men and the women, U.S. men and women, each team has 3 Olympic golds now. So both you would, on sheer numbers, equally dominant programs, but the women
one took 100 years.
I was going to say the women got to that 3 gold medal threshold in a fraction of the time. So like the most historically dominant program in US hockey is the women's team.
Women.
Yeah.
None of them make millions of dollars playing NHL hockey either,
no.
For the record. I just mean like if the U.S. men wouldn't win a World Cup, it just hits a little differently because we're not supposed to. Whereas the U.S. men's hockey team is more like a Germany or a Brazil in soccer, right? It's like one of the best programs, right? The U.S. men's soccer team is not. It's not even like a top 10 or 15 thing. So if they were to actually do something in a World Cup, I would weep openly about that. it's not that I don't celebrate a women's World Cup the same way. I do, just like with this medal. It's just like I kind of expect, like this is what happens with Alabama football and like Vanderbilt football. You know what I mean? Like I expect our women to go dominate at a World Cup, and if they don't get to a gold medal match, or in the Paris Olympics, if they don't get to the gold medal match, like I have expectations for that team because I've been a fan for a long time, and they're the best. Like they're the best. And so it's just different. Like it's different when Vanderbilt wins 10 games than when Alabama wins 10 games. That's all. That's all it is. And so we also didn't grow up. Like I'm older than you. I didn't grow up with the history of the women's game. They didn't get started until 98. And same with the World Cup. Like you just kind of have 20 years of watching this thing that kind of embeds itself in your psyche as a 10-year-old. And I look, I think the whole story of the weekend is the thing. Like if you're making the movie, and to get back to I was like, my wife's in there reading, and I'm like, it's this intermission of the second period of the men's game, and I'm like, if you don't come out here and watch this third period, like I am going to be annoying the entire day, and it's gonna more so than normal. and like you need to come out here. They're gonna make a documentary about this weekend, and it's not. You cannot make the documentary about the men's team. You have to tell the story of the weekend. It's about USA hockey on both teams, the way both games unfolded. It's just that you cannot make the documentary without the women being as prominently featured as the men. That's how I view the weekend, at least. And it was a culmination of very dusty. It was very dusty in my house on Sunday morning.
Lots of onions being chopped in your house on Sunday.
Yeah, dude. Like my youngest one looks up at me and goes, "What's wrong with you, Dad?" Like, I'm kind of emotional about this. Connor McDavid wins the MVP, right? Which feels a lot like when he wins the Conn Smythe for a Stanley Cup he doesn't win. Why is Connor Hellebuyck not the gold? Why is he not the MVP? Like, what are we doing here? That is the most spectacular performance, individual performance by a hockey player I think I've ever seen.
If it's for the whole tournament, then I think McDavid, it still makes sense. I mean, for that game, 100% Hellebuyck was the MVP. I don't care, any way you look at it, he's the MVP of that championship game. But I think that McDavid, obviously, for the entire tournament. I mean, Hellebuyck didn't even play in every game in the tournament. Not saying that should be counted against him, but the point being that, I mean, Connor McDavid is just stupid to watch. Like, it's like, seriously, it's unreal, the stuff he does. But yes, I was getting Conn Smythe flashbacks to that when he won. I was like, oh man, are they gonna make him come out and like accept it now?
So my girls didn't watch a ton of the men's tournament until the gold medal match, and I was just like, that what my oldest does love though is to know like who's the best player. And I'm like, well, the goaltender for the USA is the best goaltender maybe in the world right now, and certainly regular season goaltender in the world. Winnipeg fans are like, what, can we get some of this in the playoffs, please, in Winnipeg? And so I'm kind of trying to give them the story, right? And like for my wife, it's like, no, the Tkachuk brothers, they're brothers, and the Hughes brothers, they're brothers, and like, oh, that's the dad, that's Keith, and I have to do all the explaining a little bit. But what's really fun about certain players, and it's any sport, but like I go talk to my oldest daughter, I go, watch 97. Just watch 97. And like by the third shift, she was like, oh, there's 97. He's faster than everybody. I was like, yeah, yep.
You watch him move out there. It's like, good Lord. It's
when you put him with McKinnon and Celebrini, like it's just.
Oh, yeah. That's just not fair. Celebrini, I will say too. I mean, we all knew he was obviously good, like not that he surprised anyone, I don't think, but he was kind of a bubble guy initially to make the roster. Like when I say initially, I mean like beginning of the year, because he's so young. I mean, he's not that far removed from being able to play in the World Junior Tournament, much less the Olympics. And so I think, I don't know that anyone would have really had a hard time, if Celebrini went to the Olympics and maybe didn't show up, he wasn't the guy. I think people would have just been like, he's young, it's fine, it'll come. But he was one of their most dominant players, one of Canada's most dominant players on a team full of men. And so, I mean, I don't necessarily want to call it
somebody like that. Be nice.
Right? I don't want to call it like a coming out party because we all knew how good he was, but it's just more reinforcing what we already knew, I think.
Yeah. Connor Hellebuyck, 4.63 goals saved above expected in that game alone. That's like an entire season in the NHL for some goaltenders, which is crazy. And I heard a story. I think this was the 30. I wanted to listen to 32 Thoughts, which I don't listen to very often, but I wanted to hear their reaction as a couple of north of the border fellas. I wanted to hear what they had to say. And they told a story, and I can't remember who was recounting the story, but that Connor Hellebuyck had fallen asleep on the bus ride into the game against Sweden, and that like all the forwards were watching him sleep on the bus going like, okay, we're gonna be good. like that he was so calm that they all came into the game more confident because they were like, oh, this dude can sleep on the way to this Swedish match. Yeah. Then we're gonna be okay. If he's good, then we're good. And turns out he was pretty good.
Part of me wonders if this is gonna do anything to kind of wake up the Winnipeg Jets just in terms of like the year that they've had. I mean, if they not again that they needed a reminder of how good their goalie is, but I mean to see what he did on that stage, I think that, take USA, Canada, whatever, take that out of it. It just in terms of knowing the asset that you have on your roster and knowing what he's capable of. I mean, this is a Jets team that obviously is already frustrated. They've fallen far below expectations this year. So, I do kind of wonder if you're going to see a little bit of a surge from them after this.
I mean, there's a lot of weird, interesting, and fascinating storylines about the NHL coming out of this tournament. Rantanen's hurt. Crosby's hurt for a while now. What's going on with the Florida guys? Like there's a lot of players that it'll be fascinating to see what happens from an injury standpoint and from a usage standpoint when the NHL gets back going again today. What I was sort of saying, and I guess I never really got to the point on like how not a single one of these guys on the USA team has ever seen anything like this. Like Hillary Knight's played the captain for the USA women's team. I think she's played in 5 Olympics now. Like she's been around a long time. She's won gold medals. Like she's seen this, but none of these players on the men's side have ever even seen anything like this. They haven't been alive for any teams that were good enough to even be mentioned in the same breath as what they've just accomplished. And what I hope is that for both sports, both teams, that we have the impact. And I thought Mike Tirico, shout out to Tirico, I thought he did a really great job after the game. He did I want to say it was 30 seconds. It wasn't very long. And it was 3 or 4 sentences, and I'm going to screw it up, but I'll paraphrase, where he's basically like, you watch these sports as a young person, as a kid in our country, and you see what you can accomplish. And so I am hopeful that young men and women all across the country, kids, see what these two teams have accomplished, and it becomes the thing that drives you to do what you do. And I think that goes for every sport, but in particular in a sport that we've never done anything like this before, where both teams won gold over Canada. I assume that 20 years from now, we're going to start hearing players talk about, both men and women, like, man, I remember watching so-and-so against Canada and Italy. And that's cool. Like, it gives me the chills just thinking about it.
Yep.
Cool. I want to ask you about Auston Matthews. There was I have never seen, I'm not arguing that he should. I'm not going to ever sit here and say he shouldn't be the captain. Like, he won a gold medal. Like, give him the C. Got his team the world championships and then the 4 nations. Like, he's been pretty good, and the team's been very good with him as the captain. But as far as characters in the story go, I've never seen a main character, a captain, be less featured in the television coverage, the conversations online. Even when they gave the medal to him, he turned away and looked the other direction. He just is not he doesn't have main character energy, for lack of a better term. And I don't know if that's great for him in the team, or if that's bad, or if that's weird. It's just an observation. I'm keep giving him the captaincy. They won a gold medal, whatever. But he's not really a prominent part of the narrative. He's a prominent part of the team, but not a prominent part of the narrative.
I don't know. I think he's just a very vanilla person. And I mean, that's not necessarily a criticism. It's just
is.
like you said, he doesn't have main character energy. I mentioned this last week. A lot of people had big feelings about him being the captain. I don't really care. I mean, are there other guys on that team I would have picked over him? Yes, but I'm not mad at and losing sleep over it. But I think that being in the Toronto market has probably, like, whatever amount of personality he had is probably just put a giant wet blanket over it.
Squeezed all the personality out of him.
Just
Yeah.
sucked it right out of him. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that it's, it's can be a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, I think that that's partially why it made sense to make him the captain, if you're going to make that argument, because he has been in a pressure packed media market and can handle it. But at the same time, he's just not like, he's not Sidney Crosby, kissing babies and just.
Yeah. It's just not his thing. It's not his thing. But again, like if you were on the NBC broadcast team and you were putting the camera and you're being an executive producer and you're like putting the camera crew on people and you're building lower thirds and graphics and packages and vignettes and you're sending out your people to go do interviews. It's like, he's not even on the list.
I mean,
it's two Hugheses and a Hellebuyck before you even consider going to, and again, we can give a lot of shout outs here. Like, Brock Nelson played a great game in that game. Dylan Larkin played a great game. Boldy with the goal. Lots of great players.
It could also be that Auston Matthews is currently the face of a Canadian NHL franchise. So that kind of goes back in the face of what you're trying to do here with being the face of USA hockey. Like, again, that's not his fault. It is what it is. But I think that it does kind of send conflicting messaging. Hellebuyck, you could say the same though, but he's not the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. I think Auston Matthews is a little bit more forward facing, a little bit more front and center. So if you're trying to highlight guys to be the face of American hockey, now you could say yes, Brady Tkachuk is also the captain of a Canadian hockey team, but it's not the same market. Ottawa is not Toronto, and he has a brother who plays for an American team. So it's just kind of is what it is.
It's fascinating just in general that Connor Hellebuyck and Auston Matthews go back to two of the more prominent Canadian clubs, like as the captain and the star of the game. Like, that's just interesting to me. It's not any more than just interesting to me. But I also think that I don't think that it is the redemption story that probably Auston Matthews wants it to be. Or whatever. That's not even the right word. Maybe like this sort of like I've broken through and I've finally accomplished and realized my potential. Like, I don't think that's real. Just like I don't think the Connor McDavid criticism is very real. Like, Nathan McKinnon hits an open net that he hits 98 out of 100 times. Maybe he misses it twice. And that's why Connor McDavid is a failure in championship settings. And that's why Auston Matthews is a champion in champion. Like, I think people are going to attach things to those two players based on the team and what the team did, and I don't think it's fair to either one of them, honestly.
No, but it's lazy and it's easy, so it'll happen.
That is true. Anything else about the games themselves before we get into the drama that you want to give some shout-outs to? Oh, the Johnny Gaudreau thing. There's a lot of people that didn't know the story that I thought were like, what's going on here? And then I think once you learn the story, people turned around. But I just, the way I felt about it was like, he's on this team probably, but I think it's kind of the last time that this is how you treat it. Does that make sense? Because like once you get a few years removed in the NHL, no telling whose team you'd be on or what. Are you going to play a role in that team's success or that team's failure? Like, it's too hard to know that it, like, to me, this is still attached to the tragedy of what happened to that family. And that I think it's the final chapter. Like, I feel like this is the end of that part of the story. For them personally, it's going to be decades of this story, right? For those kids and for the wife and for the family and the parents, like, it's going to be decades of trauma and processing and all kinds of stuff. But for the outward story, I do feel like this was like a perfect final chapter, because I don't think you could, like, if some team goes and wins a Stanley Cup in 3 years, like, there's no way you can like bring the Gaudreau jersey out and be like, look, he would have been a part. Like, you don't know if he was going to be a part of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think it was you talk about no dry eyes. I was fine on the men's game. I wasn't really feeling big emotions about it until they brought Johnny's kids out onto the ice, and it was his son's second birthday.
Really? I don't
And
think I
it's
knew that.
mhm,
Oh
Johnny
my
Jr.
god.
It was Johnny Jr.'s second birthday.
Oh yeah, I had
And
just dried up, and then I went back to the
well,
waterworks.
and Zach Werenski was on the team. Obviously, they were teammates in Columbus, and he literally he carried Johnny's jersey everywhere in Milan, like took it with them everywhere. And Columbus, they still bring his jersey on the road. They give him a stall in the locker room, even in road games. And so I think it's something where, like, as long as his teammates and his friends are around, and not just around, but like the stars of this show, which Zach
Right.
Werenski is, in that category,
Mhm.
then we're still going to be seeing this. But like you said, I mean, he for sure, Johnny would have been on this team,
You think so?
the US team.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw some people saying like, "Oh, we're not really sure," so I'm not qualified to know if he belonged on the team or not. But I just feel like this is kind of the last time you can say that, and not for any reason other than time.
Yeah.
And players move in the NHL, and so you can't go win a cup 6 years from now and say this one's for John. Like,
Yeah.
this is like the last time I think you can do that. And I think it was perfect to go up there and for
Yeah.
the security, because we know that security was so freaking strict that they weren't going to let the scratches even watch like a monitor or stand out in the crowd. For them to let them just sort of like go grab the kids, I think that was a nice moment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very nice.
All right, so let's transition to the not nice moment. I personally don't want to discuss the FBI director spending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to go party on like a Make-A-Wish trip to Italy. It's stupid. It's insulting to taxpayers in America, but like whatever. Like who cares? Like it's stupid. The president calling and trying to congratulate a team. I assume he did not do that for the women. I feel comfortable saying that allegedly. Also I have no problem with that. Either team going to the White House or the State of the Union address. I don't care about that. It's whatever. None of that's up to whoever wants to do it. But the clip that has been shared everywhere, you wrote a big column about this on Fanside. In fact, I'll drop it into the into the chat. And I just I'll let you kind of go with this first. And I wanted to know what your reaction was. How did you see it? I assume it got into our algorithms. This was not a television broadcast. This was a cell phone basically taking this photo or this video, capturing the president calling and wishing everybody congratulations, and then saying, well, we're going to invite you to the White House. We got medals for you. Oh. And by the way, we're going to have to invite the women's team too. And then there's a chuckle in the room, and a lot of people had rightly so, a gross cringe reaction to the entire situation. What was your initial reaction?
I mean, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired as a woman. Not even accounting for being a woman in sports, just being a woman, period. I'm so tired because when you hear these things, oh, it's locker room talk, oh, it's just a joke, that we've used that for so long to excuse that kind of behavior. And you know what? It's a joke that punches down for women when that is your reality every single day. Honestly, the political stuff didn't even register with me until after the fact. Kash Patel, what the State of the Union, whatever. That did not really even register with me. The first thing I saw was women being treated like an afterthought, like being treated as a political prop, an inconvenience. I mean, whatever it is. To me, it just made me so sad because it reinforces a message that girls and women everywhere are being told, directly or indirectly, is that your success always comes with an asterisk. You can literally reach the pinnacle of whatever it is that you do. In this case, it's playing hockey. You are the best hockey players in the world. And still, we can't celebrate that for more than 5 minutes without being reminded that, yeah, but people don't care about you like they care about the men. And we're only inviting you because we have to. Again, take politics out of it. I would have a problem with this no matter who said it. Democrat, Republican, I don't care. It's not even about who said it. It's about the fact that so many people have this ingrained. I mean, women like myself, I grew up in an incredibly supportive household. I went to an all-girls school that championed female empowerment. I had everything working for me, in my favor when it comes to like being a woman who is confident in her own ability and being able to excel on whatever stage, and knowing that if I do things right, then I will be successful. And even with all of those things working in my favor, I grew up with this internalized misogyny. For so much of my career, I have been so cautious about, oh, I have to fit in with the boys. I have to make sure, I have to not be a problem. I have to be quiet. I have to just fit in with the guys. And I don't want to be a women's sports reporter. I don't want to report on women's sports because then I won't be taken seriously. Then I'm not a real sports reporter. All of those things, like even if they weren't things that I said out loud, they were things that I felt. And I know that I'm not alone in this. So again, to everyone, including Jack Hughes, who is saying, why does everything have to be so political? It's not. For some people it is. A lot of people are arguing about the politics of it all. I'm not. I really don't care what your politics are. It does not keep me up at night. What does keep me up at night is the fact that you can't give women just the bare fucking minimum level of respect that men are they're just given it, and women have to beg for it. And even then, even when we do get it, it comes with an asterisk. And it's like women's success only matters because men say that it does. And that's not okay. And the biggest issue for me is like, look, here's one thing I just want to set straight. Do I think every man is evil? No. Do I think every man in that locker room is evil? No. Do I think they all hate women? No. Did groupthink probably take over? Was it easier to just laugh and, when the comment was made? Of course. It's the president of the United States. I'm not expecting any of those guys to be like, actually, Mr. President, like in the moment, like, of course.
Right.
However, even if there were conversations behind closed doors, even if, there was maybe some time of reflection, maybe if you were feeling uncomfortable, whatever, these men have had every opportunity. Hindsight has given them every opportunity. And like you said, I'm not saying, oh, they shouldn't have gone to the State of the Union. They shouldn't have gone to the White House. I don't care. That's an honor. If you're going to get it, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is guys being given the opportunity to address what happened in that room and to just acknowledge, hey, you know what? We didn't handle that very well, and that's on us. That's what I have a problem with. And I think that the only one who has come even close to showing any kind of modicum of accountability is Jeremy Swayman. He was the only one who said, yeah, we should have reacted differently to that. But again, I'm not expecting them to behave differently in the moment. I'm expecting them to show some accountability after the fact, because seeing Jack Hughes say, man, people are trying to make something out of nothing, that is the whole problem. Because just because it's nothing to you doesn't mean it's nothing to anyone else. And I understand that, Jack Hughes, it is not your experience because you're not a woman. You don't deal with this every day. You've never had to look outside of your comfortable bubble and see this world that constantly takes cuts at women every single day. And because it's not your experience, you don't have to You don't have to look outside of your bubble, and that's fine. I don't expect you to feel how I feel about this. I just expect a little bit of just awareness, a little bit of willingness to learn about a perspective that's not yours. Because again, I'm not expecting men to be as angry about this as women are. But at the same time, I mean, that would be like me. I can't sit here and say that I understand what it's like to be a racial minority because I don't. Of course
Right.
I don't. But I can sit here and say, hey, racism is bad
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be a thing. That's all I'm asking for here. So the bottom line here is just women constantly being treated like an inconvenience and men having an opportunity to, shine some light on this and actually make it right. Again, I don't even blame them for the way they reacted in the moment. I blame them for not acknowledging it after the fact. And they had every opportunity and they haven't. And so this whole thing, it doesn't a lot of people have said, "Oh, if you're mad about this, then you're anti-American, you're not a patriot, blah blah blah."
Uh,
I don't even know
be,
where to
be,
begin with how wrong that is.
being pissed about what our president has done or said is as American as it can possibly get, Democrat or Republican, frankly.
Honestly,
I
it's not even about the
Well, I just
the
so this
president.
I disagree with that a little bit. The thing that I am first of all, I think incredibly well said, and I think to your point, the call to action for everybody is like, hey, spend a second challenging yourself to consider other perspectives and to listen. I think all of that was very well put by you. And I don't just really disagree with anything that you had to say. The thing that gets me, you said, hey, I don't expect men to be as upset about this. And certainly that does come with perspective. The thing that does get me incredibly pissed off, just as a point of fact, is that we are at a point, because I struggle with this a lot, that we are at a place in our country where the adjudicated serial assaulter is on the phone making jokes about the women's team minutes after the men have accomplished something we should all be celebrating. And the fact that that is his default setting and the fact that that is how he treats everyone in his life, especially women, based on the stories that are coming out, like that is the thing that like makes me disgusted. Now, like I also have existed in this country since 2016 when this person has been front and center in our brains for far too long in like just like affecting how we see things and how we think. And so like my instinct in that moment was to be like roll my eyes and be like, here this dick face goes again, being a complete misogynist asshole. Not a surprise, like not surprised that this is how this person would act in this moment. I didn't think it was a huge deal because it's representative of all of the other much, much, much worse behavior that he has been accused of. But to me, it's disappointing because it's an American success story with American athletes who hopefully have a diversity of opinions about politics and a diversity of experiences and ideas about politics. I assume there's plenty of Democrats and Republicans on both hockey teams, men's and women's. And I hope and I wished that for 5 seconds, this person could just say, congratulations on what you accomplished. Can't wait to see you guys. And
That's all you had to say.
just fucking leave it there. Just leave it there. Now,
That's the thing. Because it goes beyond sports. It goes beyond hockey. It goes beyond sports because let's not kid ourselves. The way that people talk about women's sports is the way that they talk about women when women aren't around. I mean, it's just that you cannot have a conversation about women's sports without people just being enraged that they exist. Like it is crazy to me because I'm not a fan of golf. But if somebody brings up golf, I'm not just going on a tirade about, oh, this is so stupid. Stop making me watch golf. I just don't watch it. Like
right. Well,
it's crazy. And it has to do, so much of this, again, it goes beyond hockey. It goes beyond sports. All of this, it could have been avoided. Like you said, we expect it from the president.
Which is the sad thing. That's the sad
It is
thing.
the sad thing. And because we
that's the part
expect
that's
it,
frustrating.
because it's become normalized, that's the problem. Like when
I
people keep saying, "Oh, women, you can't take a joke." First of all,
it wasn't a joke.
your
He was just being a dick. Like he's just a
First of
dick.
all, your president couldn't take a joke from an actual comedian, so
Ever,
let's
ever,
start there. But
ever.
anyway,
All
I
right,
think
you're getting. We're
the
going to go
point
down
is
that path.
no, but the point is here, first of all, it wasn't a joke. It
No, it
wasn't
wasn't.
a
It
joke.
wasn't a joke because jokes are funny, but it wasn't.
But even if it was, I mean, first of all, explain the joke to me. Tell me why it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And then also, I think
He's just being a dick. That's
when
all it was. He's just a
when
dick.
you keep saying that women are being too sensitive, stop making it about you. No, man, it was always about us. We were just not supposed to notice. And that's how it's been for far too
I,
long
I,
in this country.
the only thing, and you've already said this, so I'll kind of reiterate this as well. I will not kill a bunch of 24-year-olds who are coming off an incredible performance with a high in a moment that is supposed to be private and not broadcast for the world. When the president of the United States calls you and probably says something stupid, how many people at a dinner party do? And I'm not saying like we shouldn't stand up for women's rights and that I haven't done this in radio stations in my past, or that I don't like, I'm not saying that there isn't a moment where people cross lines and you should stand up and say something. There's also like sometimes you're at the party and the drunk guy is just a little too drunk, says something stupid, and everyone's like, oh my God, let's get this guy out of here. And you laugh at the thing for 3 seconds and then you move him along. And I think
Fine.
that I read that reaction as like, ha, ha, like it was awkward. It was almost like an awkward chuckle. And they're just like, ha, ha, I'm not going to kill a bunch of young, I'm going to call them kids because I'm old for doing that. I think you're right to sort of look at, well, but could you come out afterward and maybe say something different and do something different? And I agree with that part of it. But I don't
I'm
think
not
this is on the hockey
arguing.
team as much as it's on
No,
the person making the call.
no, but I
He's
think
also elected to the, like he has the highest office in the world. He should have a responsibility to lead by example. And it's atrocious that that's the
yes.
example that he sets. That's all.
And that's
Especially for
why,
a guy with 2 daughters. So
I think some people were taking it a little far. Some people saying, "Oh, well, the team shouldn't have gone to the White House, whatever." Again, I don't have as much of an issue with that. I don't have an issue with them laughing in the moment because sometimes, I mean, like you said, it's even I mean, I'm not a 24-year-old kid, but if the someone, in a high political office said something that made me uncomfortable in the moment, I don't think immediately I would be like, well, actually, I think it takes a minute and then you can actually say,
yeah, that
you
was
know
kind of
what?
stupid.
Yeah, maybe
Right.
not. And
Right.
so again, that's where I think they've had the hindsight, they've had the opportunity, they've been asked about this in the media,
Yeah.
and they've
I
doubled down on it. And even when, Jack and Quinn Hughes, their mom is a coach on the women's team. And of course, she was asked about it after this all happened. She had an opportunity that I think she didn't quite do enough with, but I also understand that's your kid.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just it's rough there,
Yeah.
to totally go against it. But I think her message was that look, both the men and the women were just really proud to compete for their
That's right.
country.
That's right.
And that is true.
That's right.
That's correct. Um, but again, looking at the men and everyone trying to point to, well, look, the men were in the stands, they were hanging out with the women, they were, rooting for the women. Okay, the public support for the women's team does not negate the misogyny. If anything, it's the other way around.
I
Misogyny negates the public support.
so I hear you on that, and we can kind of move on to Saros here. I do think that if I don't think the chuckle is the misogyny. I think if there are people in that room that believe the way the president was talking, then they need to reflect on how they feel about things, and they need to reflect on perspective and understanding. And I do believe like to
Or at
notice
least
the
just acknowledge, "Hey, this didn't really bother me. It didn't seem like a big deal to
yeah,
me, but I understand. I can see why people would be bothered by it."
sure, and,
That's all it is.
I agree. It's just take a second to like evaluate. And I do think, and this is the truth. Like I'll tell you my own story. Like when you are a young producer in sports media and you get a radio job, there's a lot of challenging conversations from like a culture standpoint. There, like when I was like I started at Rivals.com in a total locker room, and there were words that were being used in that office that we would never use today. And I was 23 years old. And the things that I can immediately notice today at 43 and a father and a husband in particular, like the things that I immediately notice that are cringe today, and I immediately go, let's not. I don't think that's not how we're going to talk about that. Like, I don't think we should say that word, or I don't think we should do it that way, or why don't we rethink that? I do think that like you have to learn how to pick up on that stuff right away, and you probably have to have some location in that culture of not power but authority or comfort of some sort, which again, all of this leads to the problems we're talking about. But I do think that at 23 and 24, I was scared to say things. I didn't always pick up on it right away. My prefrontal cortex had not developed until I was like 28 years old, which is later than probably normal. Like none of this is an excuse, but I'm not going to kill the locker room for reacting that way on a phone call with the president in a moment of privacy. I think if you feel compelled to say something afterward about how that made you feel, I hope that you learn to stand up for how you feel. And that's probably all that like we need to say about it. The whole going, like, I agree with you, like the Cash Patel of it all, and them going to the State of the Union and being a political prop, like, fine. I am frustrated that these two hockey teams have become this political football, on both sides of the aisle. It's not a knock on Democrats or Republicans. It's just like, these were two spectacular teams that we should remember for what they accomplished. Celebrating, like Jack Hughes wrapped in the flag with a bloody mouth should be a picture that we hang in the fucking Louvre. Like, that is how good that picture is, and what that means to people. And that's the thing we should remember and focus on. And unfortunately, this guy that's supposed to be the leader of the free world does not know how to just do the simplest, nicest thing, because I don't know, he's not like a human being or whatever. I don't know.
That's why I am conflicted when, at the top of the show, you asked me where this weekend lives in my kind of sports moment hierarchy in my life. And right now, that's very hard to say. Whether I will remember it as, Jack Hughes draped in the flag with a bloody mouth, if I'll remember it with Megan Keller's arms overhead screaming. I mean,
What a move, by the way.
I don't know
incredible.
like, those are the things that we should remember, and I remembered them. That's how if you had asked me 3 days ago how I would remember that, those are the moments that stick in my mind.
Yeah.
But in the time since then,
yeah,
it's turned into a political football, and I don't hold it necessarily against the individual players. It's nothing about that. It's more of just,
I guess
I'm tired. I'm
just
tired.
cynical.
I'm tired, and I'm frustrated, and I'm deflated. It's really fucking hard to keep loving sports when they don't love you back.
I think it's okay to remember the games as what they were and what those stories meant, and to not let a moment of stupidity or mistake ruin the story itself. Because the truth of the matter is, like, everything is a political football now. And if you allow everything that's a political football to bother you, and I'm not saying you, I'm kind of just talking in writ large.
It wasn't just a moment, though. It wasn't just a moment. Like, misogyny is not a moment. Like,
I know. I'm talking about like there's no argument with that, but you've got like that stupidity happening afterward by the president, in my opinion, and a bunch of young kids coming off a real high in a moment of privacy that maybe made a mistake. That does not take away from the two different overtime periods and the performances and the storyline. Like, for me, it doesn't. And maybe that's me being a male, but like, it just, I can look at that and say, this is a thing over here that I don't like, that I'm glad you have a good perspective on, that I think is important to talk about on the show. And then over here, I can say, this is the thing that I'm going to remember about this, and that I choose to remember, because unfortunately in 2026, like, literally everything turns into some stupid political football and if you allow everything to be ruined by the national politics of our country right now, like, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to just like enjoy. I feel like, I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does. I wish that I could have that separation, and maybe, someday I will, but it's not today. And
All right.
it's unfortunate because, like you said, everything's becoming a political football. So when Jack Hughes is saying, man, everything has to be so political all the time. Why can't, well, yeah, you're up the president's ass and you're going to his house and sitting at his speech. And do you not understand that you're being used as a political football?
I don't think 24-year-old men in particular do. I don't think they do. And I'm not trying to judge all of you. I'm sure some of you are very thoughtful and wise beyond your years, and your PFCs are already developed. But I think I know that I wasn't. How about that? I know that at my age and when I was like that, I did not see the things that I should have seen at that age.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Even, I mean, I'm not a male, but at 24, I was, definitely not as wise and experienced as I am now, but still, I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting bare minimum from these men, and we can't even get that.
If you are in a moment of contemplative thought processing of all of the different things in your life that frustrate you, I recommend down-regulating your PFC with a couple beers or a glass of wine or a THC bevy or a glass of whiskey, all from Sinkers Beverages. You can get that booze delivered directly to your house. You can sign up for the in-crowd. I suggest sharing an alcoholic beverage with a friend in moderation, because you will build trust and you'll understand their perspective a little bit more, because when you down-regulate your PFC, you actually can learn to be more creative and thoughtful. It's fascinating science. Doctors are basically saying, like, hey, there's science behind this, Emma. You got to share a beverage with your friends. It's in community. It's the way to do it. Sinkers Beverages, everybody. UC Saros and Erik Haula win a bronze medal. And I still saw some tweets about how UC Saros can't win the big one. I'm like, Finland got beat by Canada, and that's UC Saros' fault? Like, his save percentage was pretty solid. The first game of the tournament, they got upset, I guess. But, like, basically they won. They got as far as they're kind of supposed to. They weren't even really picked third, technically, in the odds makers. What do you make of Forsberg, though? Used very strangely for most of the tournament. So we can talk about that if you want. And then, of course, Roman Yossi's team getting defeated in just utter heartbreaking fashion. What'd you make of the Preds in the Olympics?
Yeah, the Forsberg thing was weird. But I think it was less about him and more about the coach. He also didn't put Dahlin out there for overtime against Canada. He made a lot of weird decisions with the players and their usage. And the first game when they played, who was it? Latvia or I don't
USA
remember who.
or Sweden? You're talking about Sweden.
No, Sweden.
We played Latvia, I think, first.
Okay, well, whoever Sweden played for, I don't even remember, but it was like gonna be a easy game for them. Like they were supposed to have maybe it was France. I think it was France. It was like, yeah, they will have no issue beating France. So like, let's not overtax our best players in the first
makes
game.
Sense.
That made sense to me.
Yeah.
But then when it kept happening, and it was like every single shift out there, you saw it was Elias Pettersson and William Nylander. It felt like we're the only two guys that played for Sweden. Yeah. And it was like I forget who it was now, where it's like you got defensemen for Sweden who are racking up like almost 30 minutes of ice time a game. Yeah. Meanwhile, Rasmus Dahlin is sitting on the bench the whole time. What are you doing? And so I thought it was interesting because both Philip Forsberg and Rasmus Dahlin were asked about it after the fact, and they were both very careful with their words, yeah. Let's just say.
Well, it was his decision.
Yeah, it's like, well,
the coach decides what's best for the team.
Yes. So they were very careful with their words. Yeah. From what I could see from Swedish fans, from what I could tell, this coach, not a popular guy.
Are you big? Are you big on Swedish Twitter?
Well,
big into the Swedish sewers.
I mean, you go down a rabbit hole every once and again, and I think that it was just very interesting. It was kind of like you're watching. It was more of like I was watching this unfold, and I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
surely there has to be a reason. And so I would go and look and I was like, I don't know, maybe the Swedes like hate Rasmus Dahlin. I don't know. I was like, I don't think they do, but maybe they do. And sure enough, no, all the Swedes on Twitter were like, this is horrible. It makes no sense. Where's Dahlin? I was like, okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Congrats. I think congrats are in order to Saros and Haula. I don't think I want to say didn't I should have looked this up, the medals that Predators have won in the past. I assume that's Shea Weber in the Olympics. I assume, was it 2010 the last time they had NHL players? I feel like I didn't really check that, so I feel like it's a cool experience for National Predators to have a couple of Olympic medals. I think that's good. 2014? Okay.
I think. But either way, yes.
And I think what Shea Weber would have still been on the team at that point in 2014. So
I think it's cool. And it's, you know,
yeah.
It's an Olympic medal. Like it's
I agree.
It's really awesome that they were able to do that. And I think Saros was great. I think everybody should take note of how he looks when he has an actual defense in front of him. Crazy.
Honestly, we're gonna do this next week on the show. Because I think the Saros conversation is just like, it's just insane.
If you think he is the reason that, you know, the Predators are losing games,
well,
then you're not watching.
I agree, but I also don't think like anyone on Earth, Predators fans or otherwise, is like, this is the best goaltender in the world.
No.
Like it's the framing of every one of these conversations feels like I'm taking crazy pills. People are like, how could you think Juuse Saros is a top 5 goalie in the NHL? I'm like, no one's saying that. Like, you know what? He's paid as the number 10 goaltender in the world, which is kind of about where he's probably about 10 to 12 to 15 in the world. Like, he's kind of just is what he is. Like,
I think that's part of a larger commentary on society right now is that everything has to be black or white. You can't have a nuanced conversation about anything.
I agree.
It's like either he is the best goaltender in the world, move over Connor Hellebuyck, or he is just absolute scum of the earth. There is no in between.
Yeah. Rubbish.
Yes, rubbish.
It's
like, no, actually, he can just be like the 10th best goaltender in the NHL, and we can just call it spade a spade.
He's getting paid as the 10th best goaltender in the world. Maybe he's like the 14th best goaltender in the world, but that's about right. So, like, whatever. Fix the defense in front of him, score more goals, have a better coach, hire a new general manager, whatever. Fill in the blank for the context around him. What's interesting is coming back here. Now the Predators get going, of course. NHL games are back on the ice on Wednesday at time of taping. And, of course, the Preds will play tomorrow against Chicago at home, so a great way to get sort of the schedule back up and running again. They will play Dallas on the road on Saturday. They've got Detroit and Columbus next week, and then Boston on Thursday, and then the trade deadline. So they have 5 games here before the trade deadline. And if you look around, one of the things we talked about was like, what kind of injuries, what kind of concerns are we going to have where maybe the price of a Michael Bunting or an Erik Haula or some other Ryan O'Reilly could go up to the point where it makes sense for the Predators to make a move. And sure enough, not that, the Penguins are fighting here. Sidney Crosby is going to miss at least 4 weeks. He's going to IR. You got Mikko Rantanen out for the Stars. Who knows what other injuries may be lingering from this? You had the condensed schedule and then the Olympics, and now you're right back to action. I am fascinated with what this next 10 days looks like for all the teams that need players, for all the teams that are looking to trade players, for the players themselves. It's fascinating. It's really interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting, and I think in terms of the Predators specifically, that Jake Lucchini contract, that's your Erik Haula insurance policy right there.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's correct. All right, so we'll focus a lot more on next week's episode where we kind of preview the actions for the Preds. I'll be interested to see if any trades were already kind of in the can, as it were, and that these have been negotiated, and then all of a sudden you've
already started to see it. Pittsburgh and Colorado making trades already, so
that's right.
It's already happening.
Right. So I think we're going to see it. Unfold over this weekend, And then I think when we get back together on Wednesday, we'll do another show on Friday of next week after the deadline's passed. But I think the Wednesday show, our show next week, will be I think there's going to be a lot of action between now and then. And of course, the Preds have 3 or 4 games. So it's going to be these next 10 days are super, super interesting. And make sure you subscribe to all the other great shows, including the Gold Standard. Make sure you follow Emma on the socials and read her work. I definitely recommend the link in the chat. You can go read about sort of the male female of it all in the Olympics, and go read it. It's worth your time. Consider somebody else's perspective. You don't have to always agree with each other, but if you take time to consider someone else's perspective, that's like most of the battle. So please do that. And I do appreciate you, Emma, for voicing your opinions on the show. That's why I like working with you. Otherwise, Sinkers Beverages, and have a great weekend, everybody. That's about it. For Emma, I'm Braden. We'll talk to you next time.